again after winning the award and getting a water bottle earlier. Benato reading another chapter from his book.
So last time there was someone wanted to know if this is mine. Yeah, I wrote the poem. The story, however, is not mine. The story of Perseus and Medusa goes way back, ancient Greek times. One of the more recent editions of it is the movie Clash of the Titans, is also about the story of Perseus and Medusa. So that came out in 2010, and then it also came out in 1981 with a book. So you might have heard of it from there. But this edition of it I'm getting from Charles Kingsley. He wrote an anthology of Greek mythology in the 1800s, and I have his book in front of me when I'm writing this poem. This chapter is called Perseus on the Cliffs, and when we last left our hero, Perseus was tricked by King Polydectes into swearing that he will kill Medusa and bring back her head. The king then banished him from the kingdom until he accomplishes this task. We pick up the story as Perseus leaves the king. His spirits bitter, Perseus went slowly on his way, and reached the island's cliffs before the middle of the day. He gazed across the mighty sea, considering his dream. Athena, was it really her? If so, what did it mean? And so he prayed, Athena Pallas, was my vision true? And shall I slay the Gorgon with the strength thou dost imbue? If not, I am a prideful, lying man who merits scorn. My vow was rash and proud, but with thy help I will perform. The heavens gave no answer, and the sea revealed no sign. No thunder shook the ground below, no cloud traversed the sky. 3 times the would-be hero cried aloud, his soul forlorn, My vow was rash and proud, but with thy help I will perform. Then far away above the sea he saw a cloud adrift. It glowed with dazzling silver light while floating towards the cliff. And Perseus was overawed by that approaching shimmer, for in its blinding light the noonday sun itself seemed dimmer. He trembled as the cloud approached the cliffside under him, and as it touched, it broke, and lo, a lady was within. The lady was Athena, as he saw her in his vision, and next to her the boy beheld a second apparition. He saw a lad with graceful limbs more slender than a deer, who bore a crystal saber cut from stone completely clear. His eyes were bright like flames, his feet wore each a golden shoe, and on each one a tiny flitting wing from each side grew. These gods were still as figurines, yet Perseus well knew, without a movement of their eyes they held him in their view. Arising on the cliffside with no need to lift a limb, he watched their swift ascent until they stopped in front of him. The breeze did not bestir their robes except the shoe-borne wings, whose tiny flapping movements seemed to prove them living things. Then Perseus fell down upon his face in adoration, aware these beings lived among the masters of creation. Athena stood before him, and she bid him have no fear. For thou, she said, wast manly in my task of yesteryear. But he who wins in trials merits greater trials still. Shalt thou then see Medusa's lair, or hast thou had thy fill? And Perseus said, Try me, for when I beheld thy vision, a new soul entered into me. I'm ready for thy mission. Athena answered, Be not hasty, Perseus, my child. This task demands a trek of 7 years into the wild. Upon beginning thou shalt have no chance of turning back, and if thy heart should fail thee, thou shalt die upon the track. No man shall ever find thy bones, nor can thy soul escape. Consider if thy heart can bear that land without a shape. Then Perseus replied, The risks you warn me of I'll brave. Far better thus to die than live a useless, hated knave. But tell me, fair and wise Athena, in thy mercy sweet, how I may do this task for thee, or die in my defeat. And then Athena, smiling, said, Now listen patiently, for if thou shalt forget my words, destruction waits for thee. Thy way is north, beyond the edge of earth, beyond the pole, where icy wind and snow pour earthward from their frigid holes. Discover there the sisters grey, the 3 with but one eye, who passeth hand to hand, and so all things on earth descry. The sisters shall disclose the isle of western nymphs to thee, where daughters of the night star dance about their golden tree. Then visit that Atlantic isle, and learn from them the lair wherein the Gorgon waits for thee to feed her serpent hair. And you must strike Medusa down, that font of monstrous creatures, who wasn't born a monster, but alas, with lovely features. And then she sinned a sin from which the sunlight hid its face, and Zeus transformed Medusa to a creature of disgrace. Her hair was turned to vipers, and her hands to metal claws. Her heart now pumps with shame and rage, and venom fills her jaws. Her eyes became so fierce that those who see them turn to stone. She's thus the foe of every race, nor seeks she to atone. A giant swordsman is the only son her womb would bear. Her daughter is a winged horse that rides upon the air. Her grandchildren are Geryon, the fiend with triple heads, who feeds his herds of cattle by the country of the dead. And that foul witch Echidna, mistress of the serpent's bite. Her sisters are the other Gorgons, Steino and Eurite. These daughters of the sea queen are immortal, leave them be, but thou must strike Medusa down, and bring her head to me. Thy will shall be accomplished, lady, Perseus replied, but what if I should meet her gaze, and so be petrified? For that, she answered, thou shalt take this shield of polished brass, and see her form reflected there as in a looking glass. So striking off her head, beware, it's still not safe to see, but wrap it in this goatskin cape, the hide of Amalfi. If thou shalt bring it back, then thou shalt always be renowned, and feast with heroes and immortals on the god's own mount. Then Perseus said, I will go and risk my life for thee, but how shall I, without a ship, traverse the northern sea? And who will show the way to me? And when I find her lair, how shall I slay her, since her skin of metal cannot tear? And then the youth beside her spoke, these shoes upon my feet shall bear thee on the winds until thy journey is complete. And thou shalt be like me, Hermes, the far-famed Argus slayer, who bears from heaven news for earth, and back from earth each prayer. Then Perseus fell down in awe, and Hermes spoke once more, the shoes themselves shall guide thy way beyond the northern shore, for they have understanding from the gods and cannot stray. This sword, which slew the Argus, shall the Gorgon also slay. Designed by gods, it strikes but once and cuts its foe in two. Arise then, don these mighty gifts, and be a hero true. So Perseus received the sword and tied it on his hip. The cape and shoes he wore, and held the shield within his grip. And then Athena cried to him, now trust the shoes and leap. But Perseus delayed and said, but lest my mother weep, may I not bid farewell to her, and unto Dictys too? And may I not in thanks prepare a sacrifice to you? The goddess answered, thou shalt not betake thee to thy kin, for if their tears delayed thy task, ye each would bear the sin. But I will give them comfort if thou shalt return in peace, nor shalt thou offer thanks to us until thy task is ceased. And at that time thine offering shall be Medusa's head. So leap and trust thy gifts, and keep in mind the words I said. Then Perseus looked down the cliff and shuddered at the height, but knew the gods would spurn a hero frozen up with fright. For glory, calling every ounce of courage he could dredge, he braced his muscles for his leap, and bounded from the ledge. And lo, instead of falling down, he floated on the breeze, and gazed upon the golden shoes that bore him up with ease. Then Perseus looked round him for the gods, but they were gone, and felt the instinct of the shoes to carry him along. He leapt again from cloud to cloud, and running swiftly forth, the shoes conveyed him over hill and dale, and ever north. Thank you. The next chapter is called Perseus and the Grey Sisters, and hopefully I will be able to get to that at some future point in the evening. Thank you
so much. Due to time constraints, I can't give you all the compliments I wanted to share, but thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
Okay, next on stage.